Michael Riccobono from the Radioactive Raiders group in West Middle School.
Hi, I'm Quinn Gronick.
And I'm Elliot Klopsick.
I'm back.
I'm James Olszewski.
I'm Spencer Michaels.
Good evening. My name is Michael Riccobono, and I am reporting for the Radioactive News Network from just outside the restricted zone of the Fukushima nuclear power plant in Japan. I am here to speak to a group of experts to explain the problems that have arisen from the second largest nuclear accident in the world. I will begin tonight by speaking with Corinne Gronick, a spokesman for the Japanese government. Good evening, Mr. Gronick.
Good evening.
So let me begin by asking you, how did we get to this point? How did the second largest nuclear accident in the world occur?
The first event that led to the accident was a magnitude 9 earthquake that occurred off the northern coast of Japan on March 11. After the earthquake, the power plant went into an automatic shutdown as it was programmed to do after an earthquake of this magnitude.
So the plant was operating as it should after the earthquake. How did the accident occur then?
Unfortunately, the earthquake triggered a large tsunami that was 13 meters high. The plant did have a seawall around it that could stop a 10-meter high tsunami, but this tsunami was simply too high.
So what happened next?
Without the ability to keep the radioactive materials cool, pressure buildup in reactors, leading to a series of explosions and release of radioactive materials in the atmosphere.
Thank you, Mr. Gronick. I am now going to speak to Mr. Klopsick, who is a spokesman for the Tokyo Electric Power Company. Good evening, Mr. Klopsick. Let me begin by asking you, what problems have arisen as a result of the nuclear accident that has occurred as a result of the tsunami?
Good evening. This nuclear accident has created many other problems that are not used as this. A key problem to address is a large amount of groundwater underneath the Fukushima plant that is not become contaminated with radioactive material as it passes under the plant.
So why is this such a serious problem?
The groundwater contamination is very problematic because this groundwater is moving and going into the Pacific Ocean. This is causing radioactive material from the accident to spread outside the restricted zone.
Thank you, Mr. Klopsick. I would now like to interview Mr. Ian Beck, a spokesman for the United States government. Good evening, Mr. Beck.
Good evening.
So why is this an issue for America?
The eastern Gulf coasts of America are prone to hurricanes. These can cause a lot of damage with storm surges, winds, and rains.
So what is the link between these storms that hit the eastern Gulf Coast of America and the Fukushima nuclear power plant in Japan?
Well, within the states that are likely to get hit by a hurricane, there are 33 nuclear power plants. While in Japan, it was ultimately a tsunami that triggered the Fukushima accident. In America, it could be a hurricane that caused an accident.
I'm now going to speak to Mr. James Olszewski. Mr. Olszewski is an engineer who is one of the most important individuals in developing a solution to the contaminated groundwater. Good evening, Mr. Olszewski.
Good evening.
So, Mr. Olszewski, what solution has the experts developed to clean up the groundwater that is under the Fukushima plant?
Well, the integrated solution is really the combining of two separate ideas. This is the first time that plan has been developed using these two ideas together to solve a single problem. In this case, the problem of contaminated groundwater. To deal with the groundwater, we first need to stop it from getting to the Pacific Ocean. To do this, we have decided to freeze the ground between the Fukushima power plant and the Pacific Ocean in order to create a wall stopping the groundwater.
Even if you stop the groundwater from entering into the Pacific Ocean, there will still be contaminated water in the ground. How will you deal with this contaminated water?
We plan to pump the groundwater up from underground and then clean the radioactive and treat the water to remove the radioactive contamination.
Dr. Marcus, good evening. So how will you clean up the radioactive material from the water?
I've had the opportunity to work with chemist Tomohisa Ota, who has developed a powder that can be mixed with contaminated water. The radioactive particles in the water then stick to the powder particles and sink to the bottom of the tank. The clean water can then be pumped out of the tank, and the contaminated material at the bottom of the tank can then be scraped up and out of the tank.
How quickly does this powder work, and how much could you clean?
I believe this powder could clean hundreds of gallons within several hours.
Thank you, Dr. Michaels. In the end, the problems brought about by the earthquake and tsunami have led to numerous problems at the Fukushima nuclear power plant. Let's hope that the plans being put into action will lead to a viable solution to address these problems. This is Michael Riccobono reporting for the Radioactive Raiders News Network. Good night.